Sorry, but today's one of them days where my biorhythm is totally gone. If I was home, I would have gone back to bed because, nothing going right tonight. I can't even find, gave Hal my presentation for tonight, and now I can't find it on my PC to have it up here. So I might have to turn around and talk like this all night long. I hate doing that. Well, welcome everybody. Need water? We got, I see a bunch of people got water. We got water over here behind Hal in the cooler. So welcome. This is just an artist rendering. Did you read my president's letter? This is one of the neatest Frank Lloyd Wright homes that I have ever been to. And I think this is about the 8th that I've been to. This thing's amazing. So throughout, there's a few things that other pictures other than what was playing before the meeting started about the house. Oh, there we go. Okay, was that the first one? Announcements. Okay, again, because we keep getting different people at meetings, if you can go out to the website and make sure that all of your information, your address and stuff is out there on the site, because we're missing addresses and a couple phone numbers. So if you just go out there and check, make sure all your stuff is out to date. Looks like Art Fair. Art Fair was amazing this year. We had a whole lot of help, a lot more help than I really thought we were going to have. As hot as it was, my body gave out about 2 o'clock and I had to go home. So, hey Joe, how did we do at the Art Fair?
I didn't want to steal your thunder. And so we did really well. I believe we did real close to last year, but the exact amount of money was $1,965.75.
So it was just a little less than last year, but
just
with
hair.
the heat, it was like by the time afternoon hit, it was hot.
Yeah.
All right.
And we did, like you said, we did well. A lot of good help from the volunteers, and a great job by David.
Everybody was really great. So thank you. Water, give him a hand. Tell you one thing, we drank our share of water that day. Yes. I do not know if anybody took pictures.
I thought about it as the last couple boxes were being carried away. So we have one picture that I'll show you in November, and but not in my picture. No, the tents were down, and so most of the people are gone.
That's kind of like the way I've been all day long. 2 tents.
If I'm there next year, I'll make sure to take some pictures.
Okay, bad dad jokes. What do you call a cow with no legs laying on the ground? Ground beef. Nurse told me that yesterday in the hospital. Okay, holiday party. We're still planning on it in November. The committee has met, and let's see, we're going to talk a little bit later about that when Joe's doing 50-50. Superstar Weekend's coming up. Next year, April, Roland Johnson will be the speaker. Any more information on that? I know the contract has been signed. We got a place for him to stay. We got a place for the board meeting before. So all that stuff is on its way. And this month, see, I spelled Bob correctly. We got hats and aprons, Bob. All right. Oh, membership again. I just want to bring it up. If you rejoin or sign up, you don't hear from me within a week, send me an email and go, hey, I paid. Where's my card? So we can go out the next time this happens, I talk to Todd, and I'm going to get hold of Todd, and we're going to see if we can fix it. Also, if you get an email, you have already paid, you got your card, and it comes up and says, hey, you're due again. Just delete that email. We don't know what's going on, but that's happening a lot to a lot of members. And really, I'm getting tired of answering those emails. So if you get an email saying that your membership is due and you paid, just delete it. Don't pay any attention to it. Home sweet home. Tom's not here tonight. Tom does not have any wood tonight. That's a good reason, because he's not here. What's that? Yeah, November. I had it on my thing, and it's not here. So November 8th, we have a a tour at Home Sweet Home coming up. We're not going to have a sign-up sheet. We're just going to show up, right? Yeah. So come on out to Home Sweet Home. They're in. I guess you would call that. Yeah, Maplewood, because there's so many little. There's Maplewood. There's Brentwood. So. It's on Sun and Drive. Yeah.
Hanley Road.
Yeah. Yeah, I worked at Hanley and Brentwood for 11 years. So it's like right around the corner from where I used to work. All right. So, and Tom wanted me to tell everybody that if you've got wood from him and you're making stuff for Home Sweet Home, make sure it's for Home Sweet Home and you're not using any of that wood for personal use. I do not know why. I don't want to know why. I'm just relaying the message because Tom's not here tonight. Oh, it's the table. Okay. Next slide. Is there something in the way? All right. We haven't even. I know we got a new member tonight, and we have any others than one. I know we have one new member that's over here. Want stand, and then we got some visitors over here. So we need a mic over there first. And tell us about yourself.
So my name is Alberto. I'm an engineer by trade, I guess. I used to do some carpentry work in California. I used to do windows and doors, but a lot of that was done like via CNC machine. I was just kind of like assembling it together. So I'm kind of wanting to learn how to do like milling and kind of do like a design from concept to actual fabrication. And hopefully some people with experience could kind of show me the way.
All right.
That's about it.
All right. Welcome. Now we got some visitors over here. Come stand on up, visitors.
Talk into it.
Hello. Hey, I'm Corbin. This is my wife, Janessa, and a good friend of mine, Roy Sutton. We went to the art fair last weekend. Really enjoyed ourselves and felt welcomed already just walking through the tent. And we were invited to come attend this meeting, and we were thankful for the invite and glad to be here.
All right.
Thanks
for coming. Anybody else? Ooh, all right. I don't think so. Good. Next. All right. Whoop. All right. Upcoming classes. Fundamentals of Woodworking is starting this weekend, isn't it? Yeah. Starting this weekend, session 5. Oh. Let's see, 8:30, 8:31, making of a hand plane, day 1, and then it looks like what did I do that for? Well, there's day 1 and there's day 2, and I thought there was a difference between, but I guess not, because I copied this right off of the right out of the website. So day 1's going to be on a Saturday. Day 2's going to be on a Sunday, from 9 to 4. Right? Corey.
The actual crane-off style hand plane class has been postponed.
Thank you.
As
of Tuesday, it was still on the calendar.
well, at the same time, also too, they got hung up as an email. My instructor for that class is unable to do it, so the crane-off style hand plane class for days 1 and 2 will be rescheduled. Anybody that has already signed up for it will get a coupon and will be carried on over to the next set of class dates, which is to be determined since I started working on it this evening. So
All right.
we'll go from there.
All right. Thank you. Okay, forget about that. Next safety class is coming up on the 4th, September 4th. Then after that, next fundamentals of woodworking class. And then how to build a kitchen cabinet is going to be on 9/21, and he's going to give a little talk about it. That's what that is over there. Want to do that now? Okay. While we're here, we'll just do this. And then the next safety classes after that is on 10/2, which is the first Thursday of every month is the safety class.
Can you hear me? We're going to be doing a two-session class on how to build kitchen cabinets. We'll talk a little bit about designs, and we'll go into building the face frames. This is one of mine, and this actually sits on top of another cabinet, another bank of. I guess there's 12 drawers below it, and then these two, I got 2 of them that sit on top, and then a piece that connects together. That's just one of my cabinets. And then I built islands and everything else. But we're going to talk about how we think about how we're going to build them. We're going to build the carcasses. We're going to build the doors. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, Hal. Can you zoom in on that? Okay. We're going to be showing how to do the stiles and the rails and the panels. And this one, you can't really see too well. I don't know if I can get a little closer, but it's got like a little bevel detail on this one. And this is just one style. There's many different styles of how to build kitchen cabinets. I've seen them done with CNCs and everything else in between. And we're going to be talking about how to build drawers. This one here is done in dovetail, and that's a 110-year-old oak that I built this one out of. All the drawers and the outside cabinets are all built out of maple. But we'll talk about all the kitchen designs, and we'll talk about finishing and stuff like that. And there's no charge for this. I kind of insisted upon that. And so you just show up at the shop on the 21st, and we'll take as many as we can. And if there's too many, then, well, yeah, we'll take as many as they'll fit, so. But that ought to be a pretty interesting, I know it took me about 5 years to learn all this stuff. Really didn't have anybody showing me how to do it. And I said once I got done, I was going to give a course on how to do this the easiest way to do it. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next slide. Community outreach. First one's up, hospital toys. Bob, how many toys we collect tonight?
No, I'm not Mike.
No, you're back.
Actually, we deliver to many organizations, just a few of which are actually hospitals. In fact, we just added an organization called Crisis Nursery out in Wentzville, which is where the kids stay when their parents or parent might be in the hospital there. It's a pretty cool organization. We're also delivering them to the USO. And then, so we received 176 toys tonight in donation, and 200 are going out.
Oh, wow.
So that's it.
Next slide. I made Tom a new thing, and he's not even here to enjoy it. So it looks like we've had, I think, three tables turned in tonight. I know there's two back there, and I thought there was another one around here someplace. So, it's not turned on.
Turned on? I've got 2 more in the car.
2 more in the car. So we got 4 tonight. David's not here tonight, is he? Oh, there he is. Do you have a way to get those to the thing, to the shed, to the shop,
the tables?
Yeah.
How many? 4 tables?
4 tables.
Actually, 5 tables.
5 tables.
Getting a little.
They're growing.
I don't know if I can fit 5 tables in my car. Maybe.
Okay.
It'll be tight.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, Al says he'll take some.
All right. All right. So at the end of the meeting. Oh, okay. Good. Thank you.
Okay. Oh.
Yes.
So Home Sweet Home is one of my favorite organizations to be involved with. And I was at at their strategic planning meeting that they shared with a group of individuals. And we were talking about what else they could use. So I don't want to be stealing Tom's thunder, but small dining tables is something that they've asked about. So I said, sure, we can do that. And talk to Tom. I did talk to Tom. So the next iteration, for those that want to keep moving up the table ladder, is some 3x3 tables. And they're not going to be made out of the barrel pieces. Hopefully, the board is going to A-OK getting some birch plywood, and we'll make the tables out of that. The initial design will be that, well, like that one up there, with the black legs and then a brownish top. And so that's what they're going to be working on, and he'll have more, I'm sure, a lot more information later. But just to let you know.
Can we still get the leaves? Do they?
They do
still
have
leaves
yes,
to give us?
we do get.
We can make tables out of those.
We do get leaves. I understand the current batch is not really the greatest.
Yeah.
So it's a hit and miss kind of endeavor with those leaves. But in lieu of the leaves, we're going to go with some plywood.
All right.
Okay.
That sounds good.
So thank you.
No. I have the mic. Just as related to the storage of the tables to the shed, I just want to remind everyone, if things didn't sell at the art fair, those items are in the shed. They can be used by us for the Christmas tree. What do we call that? Tree of
Festival of Trees.
Festival of Trees. The Festival of Trees. Festival.
Yeah.
Festival. Yes, the Festival of Trees. Anyway, those things can be picked up if you want them back. They are all in the shed, or they can be, some things were kept over from last year that we sold them this year. So those items are there if you want them. And I think Joe would like to say something. Is that correct?
Yes. For now, my question, Baltic birch, that's usually sold in 5x5. Is it other? Okay. Okay. If it is, and we could go with 2.5 by 2.5, then we get 4 squares out of it. Yeah. And so, yeah. Okay.
Leave it to Tom. He knows what he wants.
All right. So total, we have, 444 is the total of toys that we have collected and delivered. So, well, we haven't delivered the 4 or the 5. That's right, that would be 445, then 1 didn't. Okay. Next slide. Tomorrow's the 3rd Friday of the month, and that's Christmas toy program. And I was going to say see Wayne, but Wayne's fishing, so, and Vicky's not going to be there, so I don't, you know. Okay. So it looks like somebody will be there tomorrow. If you want to watch and help make toys. Next slide. Okay, Q&A. I'm going to start. Do you know who invented and dubbed the carport? The word carport. Correct. Hey. So to go to go on what I did, I started with last month with my belt sander that you know, I finally figured out after so many years that if you lower the drum, you know, you can get your first side on, lift it up, roll it up, lower it down again, and clip your other side on. Worked really great until I go to use it. And I've been using it for what? It's about a little over a month now. And today I just got fed up with the sandpaper going and it was almost all ripped off. So I went, okay, I'm going to change sandpaper. Well, duh. Come to find out, I put sandpaper on backwards. I took that sandpaper off, put it on right. Boy, it took me about 5 minutes to get it on. Got it on right. Man, doesn't make any noise. It works great. Okay. What's that? The ones that I get for mine, because I got the Jet, they actually have arrows. Yeah. Yeah. So I never knew they had arrows on the back. I guess I just got lucky all the time I've done it, and it just got on right. So anyway, I don't care how often you do it. Sometimes you just have to pay attention. And right now I'm too poor to pay attention. Okay, anybody got anything they're working on, got questions on, need some type of answers, something not as funny as mine, or funnier than mine?
Have we done anything with the shop tours, membership shop tours or anything?
Oh, we were talking, but no, it got to a talking stage. We were, the guy that gave the one for the sawmill.
Yes.
Yes, and we're going to try to get that up probably sometime in the next 2 months. But shop tours, we haven't had anybody really come to me and say, yeah, I'd like to have my shop toured. So, but it's still up on the table if anybody, you know, really wants to have a bunch of people over looking at their shops.
Yeah, for those who aren't aware, we talked about offering shop tours of different members' shops. I'm in the middle of building a shop in my backyard. I'd love to come and see your shops and get all of the best practices and learn all the techniques and what not to do and all of the things that you hate about your shop that you wish you did differently, so I can learn from those mistakes and apply them to my shop. So that's was kind of the idea from my interest. So yeah, if you have a shop that you'd love to have a few folks come by and take a look at your shop and share your stories and successes, I think that'd be really awesome.
Yeah, there's just one thing you got to do. I don't care how big you make it. You always want to go a little bit bigger. Yeah. You know, I don't care what you are. You never have enough room, do you? All right. Well, no questions and answers. All right. What's that? Next slide. Show and tell. So if you got stuff to show, come on up and get mic'd up. And don't forget to get your extra raffle ticket.
I recently built a new chair for my wife for our kitchen desk, and had quite a few curved surfaces on it. The legs were curved, the crest rail, the base rail was curved, the slats for the back were all curved, and I'm cutting all these silly things out on my bandsaw with templates and trying to, cut a nice clean edge on it so that I can throw it on the router table and flush cut it. And I thought, there must be a better way to do this. And I started looking online, and I couldn't really find anything except for our friends at Woodworkers. And Woodworkers has this really neat, what do they call it, steady curve. And it was sat on your bandsaw and went around the blade and served as an offset guide for the template so that when you're cutting the wood, it's following it, you do it very quickly. And it was really great until I got to the part where it said, here's the price. And for $259, I said, I might use it maybe once, twice a year. I'd probably spend that money on something that I use a little more frequently. So I stole some of their ideas and built my own. Now, Woodpecker, their steady curve has mag switches on it, which is probably one of the reasons why it's so expensive, because you could put it really anywhere on the table, on the bandsaw. Fortunately, my bandsaw has miter slots on the front and the back side of the blade. Unfortunately, they're slightly different dimensions. So I couldn't just make a pivot point that would work on both sides. So I ended up making an adjustable pivot that goes back and forth this way depending on where I'm placing the thing, and also how much of an offset I want. The other thing, I happen to have a few of these miter slot, I guess they're called expansion blocks or something, that I had laying around after I built some feather boards years ago. And so I was able to reuse that, had a couple of knobs laying around, and really, piece of poplar. All I had to buy was a little 3/4 inch aluminum tube. I bought a couple of 5/8 dowels to put in it, and I was short a couple of threaded inserts. So I ended up building this thing, and it's adjustable up and down. So it'll go all the way down to 1/4 inch and all the way up to 4 inches. So if I want to do some, curves on legs and stuff like that, I can put it at different heights. I can also offset the amount of offset that I wanted as far as the pivot on the template. And the whole thing works out really nice. And then this particular pivot point went with my 1/2 inch bandsaw blade. I also have a 1/4 inch bandsaw blade, so I bought a second one, or built a second one. Had to run out and buy another threaded insert, but I can swap these back and forth depending on which blade I want to use in the bandsaw, and then adjust it to the proper height and lock it in place. And I just run the piece right around the pivot, and it works real great. I get everything done in a matter of seconds rather than 10-15 minutes trying to guide it and keep it a consistent offset. So anyway, $15-20 worth of parts and junk, and I saved $250. Where is it?
So I'm Jay Knopfsinger, and about a year ago, I was the recipient of a free vacuum pump, and I was pleased that worked out okay, or that I thought was going to work out okay. The person that I received it from, I tried to ask him questions about it. He said he didn't know because it had been given to him. So I wasn't able to go and actually be taught the mechanisms and so on of how to use his vacuum press. I've gone to Mark Adams School of Woodworking a lot of times. A lot of you know that. And I saw a weekend workshop, so just a 2-day workshop on making your own vacuum press system. So I thought, well, that's exactly what I need, since I wasn't able to get the workings from the person I'd gotten my pump from. I was dismayed to find out that when he told us about vacuum presses, pumps that he recommended, the one that I had gotten was lowest on the list. So he wasn't a big fan of it at all. But I decided to go anyway. So the two parts of doing a press, first of all, I think a lot of you do know that if you do a vacuum method of pulling pieces of wood together, you can create a whole lot more pressure than smooshing them together with pieces of wood and so on and glue. So that's part of the idea and the beauty of doing a vacuum press system and so on. So what I liked about this class that I went to was learning how to make the system that you could use over and over again, because a lot of people who use vacuum presses buy bags, and you can get bags in different sizes and so on. And they're cool, but they're a little bit cumbersome and kind of difficult to keep from getting glue all over them. They get holes in them and so on. So this system to me is a lot more usable, user-friendly to use again and again and again. So it has two parts, the base, which is this to begin with. So wouldn't it be nice to have something, this is a 2 feet by 3 foot system that you're going to be putting it on. So you don't have to get out your 4x4 piece of plywood to try to find a place to put it in your shop and so on. And I think most things that most woodworkers do would be in that category. In the 2 to 3 feet, you could do a lot of things that you would use a vacuum press for in that size and so on. What you would like is for it to be very flat and so on. So this is just made out of plywood to begin with. It does have holes on the side to make it more portable. A lot of places you can grab it and so on. But the top is actually melamine. So the top that basically would end up being what would be the equivalent of the bottom of the bag, if you're using a bag and so on, is smooth. It's melamine. And it's put together with a nail gun, and even the little tiny holes made by the nail gun are filled in with epoxy. So it's supposed to be, that top surface is supposed to be nice and smooth. Same, in fact, even more smooth than if it were the bottom of a piece of plastic like that. It also has some clamps on the side to be able to snap it to the top part then. I don't know where the thing is or what you can or can't see. But this, you can see that the center of this is kind of a honeycomb thing. So it's all kind of put together with as a honeycomb and so on. And then the sides and everything are just plain old plywood and so on. And we use the nail gun a lot. So I don't know if you could see that or not back then. The top part is actually, you would like to not have to worry about warping and so on. So it is made out of solid maple, the frame and so on for that, and lots of screws to keep it from getting out of shape and so on. So can you see that to some extent? So if you notice on the bottom of this, you see pieces of rubber basically, and that comes in a tube like that. You make little indentations like with a rounded bit and so on, twice around. So there's 2 of these. So if you see from the bottom, you see there's 2 rows of the rubber, which is going to be what pulls up against the bottom piece to end up making a seal and so on. That kind of makes sense then? So there's a little piece of that to kind of see, you can see what it really looks like and so on, that fits into that groove that you made with the router bit and so on. And then you can see from the, looking at this from the top, see how many screws are in there. And the more screws that are in there, the more likely it is to keep its form and everything. Then when you put the top onto the bottom, there's a very, very strong and sturdy piece of foil, not foil, but plastic and so on, very heavy, thick and so on, that provides what would be the top of the bag if you were using bags and so on then. So now you have to end up being able to create a vacuum into this thing. And so in the process of making it, you actually embed an adapter that will receive, in this case, a tube and so on to make a seal and so on. And then the other end of it happens to be just like your handy-dandy air hose things and so on and so on. And that does fit on the other end of my free vacuum press. My vacuum press is a 220 volt, makes a lot of noise, and it's very heavy duty and so on, but it fits in there. I will admit to you, I have not used it yet to try to actually do some things that I plan on doing with, but I really like the idea. And if any of you are interested at all in making this kind of thing, to be able for you to repetitively just plop it up there on your table saw or something time after time and not have bags breaking and stuff like that, I'd be happy to talk more to you if you would like to. Thank you.
I got this idea from my brother. It's supposed to be some famous flutist. I don't know the name of it now offhand. And he had a piece in brass. And so I made a design from it and went to take little bitty pieces of wood and then cut it out with a bandsaw. And particularly, to make the feathers and everything kind of correspond. And then I decided to make a frame for it out of cedar and pine, and route it out on the edges. And it's kind of like a shadow box, I guess. It took me a long time to make it, to collect all these pieces. I guess that's about it.
Question? Question, Roy? How many pieces, different species of wood?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I made it bigger than the actual thing, and then just, glued them all together, and then cut them out with, like I say, with the bandsaw.
Okay.
And except for the inner sides, you kind of had to cut them out.
Okay.
So one way or another,
Okay, thanks.
So I just finished this cabinet. We'll consider this my resume for the joinery presentation. It's got some dovetails. We've got mortises through here. We've got pinned mortise and tenons on the door. And then the drawer, we've got some pinned rabbet joinery for the drawer here. So yeah, this is a Mike Pekovich design. cherry finished with shellac and wax. So and the inside's got some floating shelves. So thank you.
Hey. So, I'm Bob Jones. This is a table for HSH, made out of the church pew things. My objective with this was not so much the different construction stuff, but to play around with the finishes. But just in the way of construction, I kind of rounded the edges because I wanted to play with the bandsaw a little bit. The little side pieces here are mortised and tenon into these pieces. So it's pretty simple design. They're just screwed onto the top. But I usually stain with either a wiping oil stain or an aniline water stain. They both have their pluses and minuses. But I wanted to play with some chemical stains for this piece. So I made some iron acetate, put a piece of steel wool and some vinegar in a jar for a couple days. And it turns into a chemical that will react with all of the minerals in the wood. And as soon as I wiped that on the legs, it instantly turned them black, which is a very interesting thing to watch because the iron acetate itself is kind of a clear bluish color. The thing that also happened was one side of the leg was almost jet black and the other side was a kind of a medium brown, which is when I discovered that the thickness of these legs is not one piece of wood, it's two pieces glued together. So that's the problem with chemical stains, is they react to whatever's in the wood, and if you have two different pieces of wood, they react differently. So I ended up digging up some old walnut filler that I had and kind of blended things a bit, and one side got most of the filler and the other side was still the black, and I wiped off most of the filler, so the fill in the pores is about the same on both sides. And these, I wanted to play around with a different top coat that I hadn't used before. This is Tried and True, I think is the brand. It's just called varnish oil. They don't tell you what it is. I suspect it's not really an exotic oil. It might have some dryers in it or something. It's pretty pricey for what it is, I think, but it does work nice. You just wipe it on, you leave it on like any other oil, and after a while you wipe it off. And I ended up putting 2 coats on. So that was pretty simple. The top, I treated with nitric acid. So what's neat about nitric acid, as well as water stains, is it just leaves a really clear impression of the wood. It doesn't mask it in any way whatsoever. And it colors the pores differently than a water stain would. So the contrast is a little different. What I discovered with that is, not only do you need a respirator, but when you wipe it on, it goes through a very rapid process of changing colors. So I was using like a 61% concentration of acid. So when I wiped it on, immediately it turned it like a stop sign red kind of color. And then about 15 seconds later, it was a really medium dark brown kind of a color. And then after about a half an hour, it turned that color. Wow. And a little bit more yellow than that, actually. So I left that overnight to see what else might happen. And both of these I neutralized with a baking soda wash, which I'll come back to in a minute. And then I rinsed them with water. So I thought that was a really cool thing because I really liked that color. And I think if I changed the concentration or the exposure time, might be able to get something different. I'm not sure because you're going to neutralize it anyway. So some more experimentation is in order. So I finished the top of this with some stuff from Mohawk called rock hard table urethane. Not polyethylene, they call it urethane. I don't know what it is. Stinks to high heaven, gives you a headache in about 5 minutes. So I'll put the respirator back on for sure with that. The thing that's nice about it is when you wipe it on, you brush it. I brushed it on pretty heavily and it leveled out pretty nicely, but the thing I didn't like about it was no matter how slowly you brush it, or carefully, it leaves a bunch of bubbles in the finish initially, which scared the snot out of me. But 95% of them leveled out eventually. So the thing that I also discovered about the acid is apparently I didn't rinse it off good enough. So this never dried. When I went to sand it in between coats, it was like really gummy, and it's like, oh, what a mess I've made. So I scraped all of that off, cleaned it all off, sanded it smooth again, rinsed it again, and then I put another coat on. And then just like in some of the pores, it bubbled a little bit. It's like, so that was okay. So the bottom side, you can sort of see the difference. That's got 2 coats on it. And the top has 3 coats. And the third coat, I brushed on pretty heavily. And I wanted to tip it off a little bit to try to drag out some of those bubbles, which was a mistake, because it left a bunch of brush marks that never did really level out. So when it did harden, I left it sit for about a week because I was doing other stuff. Then I wet sanded it with 320 and then hit it with some pumice and rotten stone. So that's the final finish on the top. So it was quite an interesting project in a lot of ways. I don't, my wife looks at this and says, "Why are you giving that away?" Because that was my learning experience. So that's what it's worth. So I always try to do something different with these projects, even if I'm going to give them away. I think it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I don't know if they want to use the microphone or not. You may not have had a problem from the acid not being neutralized. You produced some nitrogen cellulose in that process.
Yeah.
And cotton, and that might have been what was reacting also with your finish.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you put it in a bath that had enough baking soda there, it would have neutralized it. But as soon as you said that on wood, I went, oh, you're producing explosive material, huh?
Yeah, right. So yeah, I did all the acid stuff outside for sure. And even then I wore the respirator because you could tell a lot of stuff was happening.
See, I don't know what another acid would do, but nitrates, that acid reacts with organic material, and something like muriatic, HCl, would react totally different and would be neutralized by it anyway.
Yeah, there's a few other things I'd like to try that create different colors, and more browns and grays, and there's lots of. The other problem with that is it's hard to get your hands on this stuff. Go out and try to buy some nitric acid. It's like, they dumped like 1,000 gallons of it at Boeing a few weeks ago in some spill, but buying a quart of it is like $60. So.
Wow.
So that's your 5th one.
All right, beautiful finish.
Yeah.
This is probably self-explanatory. If you're barbecuing, you got a picnic table, you need something to put your ketchup, mustard, and towel and so forth, a condiment carrier.
All right.
There's a tool that needs an attachment, and you're looking all over your shop for the attachment and can't find it. You figure out a way to try to organize things. So I'm a box guy. So I make a box and make sure that all the attachments and so forth that goes with your tool goes in that box, and then it doesn't get lost. I bought a couple of real nice flashlights, and they had a kind of an unusual rechargeable battery, and boy, these are nice, believe it or not. They are really bright. Anyhow, it's got a charger, you had extra batteries, and when your battery goes bad, where's the next battery at? So anyway, I built a little box, got the charger, the extra batteries, and a place to put the couple of flashlights. Goes in the living room side table, so I always know where they're at. These boxes are they're utility boxes. I didn't build them to be pretty. So, but this particular one, it's probably not the best way to build a opening or a lid for it, but I thought this was kind of fun to do.
Yeah.
What's missing there?
This is my handsaw.
Okay.
It's got a place for extra saw blades and edge guides and so forth, and it all goes in one box, and I can find things now. Yeah.
You just have to remember that when you're done with it to put it back in the box.
Well, that's another problem. It's a personal problem, though.
Oh, I got that big problem.
This is a little jeweler's lathe, and it's got a bunch of little collets and attachments to it, so I wanted to make sure it's all together. And also, when you put the lid on it, it's held tightly, and you can turn it over and lay it sideways and everything, and everything will stay where it belongs. Do any of you make pens? Do you use jeweler's lathes?
No.
Or you just use a regular lathe?
A regular lathe.
Oh, okay. I don't use a jeweler lathe very much at all anymore. I like to do a little watch repair. Comes in handy once in a while. And somehow I came up with 2 of these. Anybody want a watch or a jeweler's lathe, come talk to me. How many of you worked for McDonnell Aircraft? Do you know that the first airplane that McDonnell Aircraft ever built was a propeller job? It was. It was called the XP-67, and they built 1.5 of them. The first one flew, unfortunately crashed and burned. The second one was sold for parts, and I think, if I remember right, the history, somebody bought all the pieces and put it together, and it flew for a few years. But it was an interesting, almost unknown airplane, and I actually found a plastic model. And you know what happens when you build a plastic model and you let it lay around? Pretty soon all the propeller blades are gone. The landing gear breaks off and disappears. So this box is a protective box. Make sure that nobody touches it. Not much woodworking went into this. I'm just a rotted piece of board. But it was interesting to work with the plexiglass. And I still don't know what the best glue is to glue the edges of plexiglass. And my glue jobs were pretty awful looking. So I used this tape to cover up the joints. The tape, this is the stuff that goes around your windows for burglar proof. If somebody breaks the glass and this stuff, it's electrically, but anyway, it worked pretty good to cover up these bad glue jobs. Now, if somebody knows a good glue that's clear and at the right consistency, it doesn't drip all over the place. I'd like to know about it.
Yeah, I've done a little bit with plastics, and I went to a place called Tap Plastics on the internet, and they sell all different kinds of plastic. I think they're out of California and on the West Coast, but they'll mail everything to you. And they sell it glue, but it's like water.
Okay.
They call it welding. You're welding,
right.
and you just feed it in there, and it just wicks right underneath your joint's got to be tight though, otherwise it'll just run out. But
well, yeah, you got to have your joints right.
yeah,
I
and
work
it
on that
evaporates
pretty
too.
bad.
If you leave it open, it goes away.
Well, yeah, right. And well, that's all I got.
All right. All right, it's that time. Everybody get your tickets out. Remember what pocket I put mine in. While we're sitting here waiting, I forgot one thing. Jeff Nasser is looking to see if anybody has any walnut burl. Yes. Just, it doesn't have to be big, but Jeff's looking for some walnut burl. So if anybody has any or know of any, talk to Jeff.
We good?
Good.
All right, before the drawing, a few things I wanted to mention. You pick pencils, we've still got those, but you got to sharpen your own. That's easy. Silent auction, we've got a silent auction there, 3 tables worth of stuff that was donated. Just a side comment, the woodworker donated those, but he also donated a 20 boards worth of cherry. Those were all taken out to the shed for the Home Sweet Home activity. So everything he donated isn't showing us, or isn't showing here. The other comment about donation, in the newsletter we mentioned a shopsmith. Anyone that's interested in a shopsmith, we're going to have a silent auction sheet that you can bid on there. But Bob Danner is kind of one of our resident experts on that. If you have any questions about that, you can ask him now or talk to Bob later. Yeah. Do we have a mic? Bob wants to say a few things.
Okay, this one works. Yeah, the shopsmith that's been donated to the guild, it's a 510. If you're familiar with the shopsmiths, if not, just Google it. But it's a 510 system. It's very clean. It's one owner. It's been in his basement since he bought it. Climate-controlled environment.
It's got his name on it, right?
Oh yeah, it still has his name on the nameplate. It's a very, very nice, clean system. Comes with a bandsaw. Comes with all the lathe attachments, live center, faceplate, and those things. So even if you know, shopsmiths is kind of like a cult. I've introduced a few members to it. I'm kind of the high priest, I guess, of shopsmiths in there. But I mean, even if you only want this system just for the drill press, I mean, it's an awesome variable speed drill press. Or if you just want it for the lathe. Or if you're somebody that has a small shop, you know, in limited space, they're perfect. But if you have any questions about it, please just see me. We're going to have the silent auction on it next month. You will be responsible for going to the gentleman's house and picking it up. Okay, we're not bringing it here, but we do have pictures of it.
Right.
You won't see them. No.
All right, any questions on that? There's a question, Bob.
So it will be at the meeting?
No.
No. The silent auction will be conducted at the meeting in September. However, if you're not able to attend the meeting, you can email Joe with your bid.
Yeah,
so
well,
he's going to run it kind of like an eBay.
Yeah,
so
well,
if
just
you're not
contact me and I'll explain it. Yeah. You had another question?
mean like this where you
Yes, we mean like that.
Yeah.
give it like this?
We will be doing that at the meeting in September.
I didn't know if you meant you gave a secret bid and they were all.
No, it'll be an open bid on the sign-in sheet, plus what Joe has from anyone who's told him who will not be able to attend.
Right. Okay, let's see. Sawdust party in November. I put things in the newsletter, but I suspect there are those who don't read it. So, spouses are invited to that, and so be thinking about that, or let them know, and more to come. Still looking for people who are interested in providing prizes, self-made, shop-made, handmade. If you provided donations to the art fair and David has them and you want to donate any of those to prizes for November, good, so let me know. But I would like to know in the next month or two so that I can coordinate that planning into what we're doing. If you don't tell me for a few days before the party, then I'm scrambling trying to figure out how to incorporate it. Wood scraps. We have an idea for the party, and it incorporates wood scraps. So, not wood dust. I don't need that. But here's an example of what I'm talking about. These are my wood scraps. Different sizes. But this one's longer than what I'm looking for. I'll cut it down. So they can be skinny, they can be wide, they can be fat, etc. And then you'll find out what they're for at the party. Okay. Again, if you bring them in at the meetings, and if for some reason you can't make the meeting or you forget, give me a call, and we'll coordinate me coming to get them. Ultimately, I'm looking for maybe 10 times this, or something, So at some point, hopefully I'll tell you, okay, no more wood for Joe. And so, registration, and then I'm working with the IT guys to help me get some registration on the website. I think they're already in pretty good shape with that. I just got to give them the details. So I'm open September. We'll get you an email out there that tells you about that, and then start registering. And again, the sooner you register, the better, so that we can better coordinate how big we need to prepare for things. And in November, the meeting will be one floor up, but it's really, you got to walk two floors up in the bigger room. And then I think I said everything. So we'll have our drawing. To be had? Oh, yeah. The drawing will have 2 gift cards, one from Woodcraft, $50, and one from one of our sponsors, BIS, which stands for Beaver Industrial Supplies. They're near the zoo, just south of it there. Both are $50. And then we have a bundle of wood. This is cherry, maple, and walnut. And that is all one price. So, someone who didn't buy any tickets? Oops. Sorry about that, guys. Wait a minute. These are all the winners, isn't that? No. Okay. All right. But before you do, I'm checking. Okay, nothing's down there. Okay, we're good. Thank you. Appreciate it. The number 410-492. I should have said that the 410 was the first 3 numbers. So last 3 numbers, 492. Oh, okay. Are you coming up? You look like you're hesitating. Okay, what would you like, Corey?
Actually, to be honest with you, let it ride.
All right? Okay. So you're donating it back, all right? You still got to draw.
If I pull the same number.
Thank you. All right, last 3 digits, 430.
There we go.
We have a winner.
Hey.
What can I interest you in? Woodcraft? All right. 430, and I need you to draw.
I should have mentioned, but you can only win once. And so, thank you. Last 3 digits. 383. We have a winner. Are you passing?
Yes.
Okay, because you don't want the cherry, because you have so much at home? Okay. We're going to have you draw a number.
Jay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is that 1 or 2?
That is 2. I dropped one of them. You okay with it? Okay. Last 3 digits, 454. Whoo! What is this, all the board members? Is it yours?
It's mine, yeah, 454. Middle.
Now, wait a minute. This happens, okay? This does happen. And it does match, if anybody needs to see that.
I'm taking the wood.
He's taking the wood, all right?
Hey, it's going to go to home sweet home.
I think I should have explained the rules. Booing is not allowed.
Oh.
So.
You sit there and watch everybody else not do it. No, I said, I'm not do it. I keep
Right
it up
here,
with the rest
right
of the
in my
board.
hand. All right, thank you. This is not encouraging here. Let's see. Last 3 digits, 450.
No.
So let that be an example. If you want to win, join the board. 450. There you go.
Thank you.
All right. This doesn't look good for the drawing, but anyways. Thank you, guys. I'm done.
All right. Adam, I know we're running a little late, so you can have a little extra time.
I'll make it quick.
Nah, don't make it quick. Make it good. Well, it's got to be good, but...
I'll make it quick and good. Hi, I'm Adam. I'm a board member that did not win anything in the raffle. I'm here to talk about joinery. Woodworking is, we start with design. Don't skip that part. That's like, 30% of woodworking. Then we're going to go into 20% is like milling your lumber, getting it dimensioned. We'll call joinery another 30%. And then 30% will be finishing. And that gets us to 110%. So perfect. So, I mean, we're just putting 2 pieces of wood together. How hard can it be? So first we got to talk about wood. Wood is like a bundle of straws. So, I got straws and a rubber band here. If you put glue in the end of the straws, you're going to get nothing because that glue is just going to go into the straws. So we really want to talk about joining our wood so that we can get glue or anything else on the long sides of the straws. So orientation is important. The other thing that's going to happen is, besides the glue, moisture from the world is going to go into those straws and out of those straws, so it's going to move. A friend of mine said, wood is going to wood. So you gotta keep that in mind when you're doing your joinery, when you're doing your designs, that wood movement happens seasonally. So you need to account for that. You can do this by either mechanically restraining the wood, or you can let it move and just make sure that it's not going to tear anything apart when it does move. Biggest example of this is attaching a tabletop to a frame. You need to make sure that that tabletop can move seasonally and is not going to break your frame or break your top or, misshapen it. So, ways to join wood. We can secure the joints. We can do this with glue. We can do it with mechanical fasteners. You can just screw your wood together. Or you can do interference joints. A lot of people will put glue in interference joints, but if you make a good set of dovetails, you shouldn't need that much glue, if any. We're going to glue edges. We're going to glue edges together. We're going to glue wood at right angles, and then we're going to glue wood end to end. We're going to scarf it and make a short board into a long board. So those are sort of our options. everything is going to come down to how are we going to do these options. All right, we're going to start with glue. There are 4 big types of glue. The wood glue, you know, somebody took Elmer's, tinted it a little yellow, called it carpenter's glue. That's the stuff we all use now. It's PVA. Type Bond has some different varieties, but it's all PVA glue with some extras. It's fantastic. Back in the day, all we had was smelly animal stuff, and so we made glue out of smelly animal stuff. So hide glue used to be made from dead things. It's no longer made from dead things. Well, you can still get that stuff, but you can get brown glue that honestly works miracles. So hide glue, you just kind of heat it up. It becomes adhesive. You put the stuff together, you hold it for 10 minutes maybe, and it cools off and it works well. You find out you messed something up, you take a heat gun to the glue, it comes apart again. It's miraculous. I have not gotten into hide glue. It's one of those things on my bucket list. CA glue, also called super glue, cyanoacrylate or something like that. You know, super glue. Good for fixing mistakes. You accidentally chip off a piece of wood, you need to put it back, CA glue, done. Also can be used for finishing. Pen turners sometimes use CA glue. Different stuff, you can spray an activator, instantly done. And then the last thing is epoxy. Epoxy is kind of flexible, epoxy gives. 2-part epoxies, you know, take some finesse. There's a way to do that. I've never done epoxy. Don't ask me questions about that one either. We'll stick with PVA glue. So this picture has some glue joints. I am of the type, I'm an engineer, I read the instructions. The instructions with glue are wet one surface, wipe off excess, wet the other surface, wipe off excess, stick them together. So my personal opinion is those are all too much squeeze out. I wouldn't use that much glue. There are other woodworkers who swear by if you don't get squeeze out, your joint is gonna come apart and the sky is gonna fall. So the instructions are, you just need a little bit of glue. You do you, though. Don't let me stop you. All right, we're gonna talk about the simplest joint as a butt joint. We're gonna put 2 pieces of wood together, and again, we're gonna put straws up against not straws. We're gonna put some glue in it, and it's not gonna hold at all. So this is, you can do it for aesthetics, you can do it in an emergency, I guess, but that's not really a good woodworking joint. What we can do is we can, we're gonna then, instead of a right angle, we're gonna put 2 boards together side by side. This is gonna work because we're gonna glue straws to straws. So when you wanna make a bigger surface, a panel, you wanna take 2 not wide boards and make a wide board, you do this. Useful for tabletops, cutting boards. People will swear by that if you alternate the grain, you make smiles and frowns, then your wood will not cup as much. Other things you can do is just start with a larger stock, glue it up, then flatten it, and it should be a little bit better at staying flat. So I tried to draw smileys there. All right, now we're going to miter joint. This is joints that'll actually work. Here's an example of a miter joint. This is, you can use for making picture frames, boxes. You're gonna cut a 45-degree angle. That's gonna give you a little bit of straw-to-straw action, but also a little bit of edge-to-edge action. And then you're gonna put the 45s together and make 90. So miter joints, a good miter joint is more difficult than it might seem because you really need to get the angle spot on. There are variations you can do to help increase the strength of the miter joint. We'll talk about those. But really, tool setup on a miter joint is important. You have a miter saw. That's probably the least good option for cutting miters. But yeah, so. You can also use pocket screws. Craig made the pocket screws kind of like when Norm Abrams got his biscuit joiner. It became a big thing. Pocket screw joinery is useful. It's quick, it's dirty, it's very good in like a production environment, or if you're making cabinet carcasses and you need to just make a whole kitchen and be done. You can also use these when something won't see much load. So if it's just a drawer that's not going to be, beaten to heck, you can use pocket screws. Clamping is pretty key to getting a flush joint. Those screws are going to want to pull your boards and move them, so they're not going to want to stay lined up. You do need some sort of pocket joinery jig to drill the holes adequately. Glue kind of helps, but really we're just making a butt joint, so glue's not going to do much for your joinery there. All right, tongue and groove. Now we're making some things longer, or we're making, I guess, flooring. Tongue and groove is just a good way to, again, take a piece of wood and add wood to it and make it bigger. So flooring, siding, panels. The back of my cabinet is actually shiplap, which is sort of a half tongue and groove there. The key there is you don't want your tongues and grooves to be butting up against each other, because you need to leave room for that wood movement. So if you leave the room, the tongues will expand into the grooves, and then it won't buckle on you, won't fall apart. Oh, biscuits. Biscuit joinery is, it's kind of getting into the floating tenons, dowel area. Biscuits are usually just made from like compressed fibers, so they swell up when glue. I remember getting to the point where in Norm's series where he got his biscuit joiner and then everything was biscuit joined. I think we've kind of fallen away from that a little bit, but they're still a very useful tool. You can use them to, again, do edge joining, make panels that way, or edging around, like if you had an engineered wood tabletop MDF or a plywood that you veneered and then you want to put solid wood edging around it, biscuit joiners are kind of perfect for that. Does require a biscuit joiner to do. My tip would be put an index card on the substrate, the inside material, and then put your biscuit in, and then pull that index card out and do the outside material, and that will leave your edging just proud of your tabletop, and then you can use a scraper or your preferred method, smoothing plane, to bring them even. And that way you don't have any problems with, we nicely veneered this piece of MDF, look at our starburst pattern, and now we need to, get some of it gone. So make your edging the piece that you tear away there. All right, lap joint. We're gonna take two boards and put them across each other. This is, again, a much better way to do that butt joint we talk about. Or if you want to lap them like you have muntins or mullions in your windows or something, you can use this to make a joint. You're essentially going to remove half the material from one joint and half the material from the other joint, and they're going to fit nicely. So you can use this for flooring or siding, simple frames, anytime boards are crossing each other. The flatter the mating surface, the better. A lot of people will make lap joints or joints with a regular table saw blade with the alternating tooth bevel. I'd recommend you flatten that out with a chisel or with sanding to give you a good glue surface to really make sure that lap joint wants to stay together. All right, rabbet joints. This is good for boxes, cabinets, drawers. You're going to take some material off of one of the boards and you're going to make it so that the other one fits in there nicely. I don't have an example of this one. So the recommended depth is like 1/2 to 3/4 of the depth of the material. And then this will give you a spot where you can do some gluing that'll hold a lot better than just a butt joint. Varied grain direction in plywood with the alternating plies makes this a very strong joint in plywood because you're getting both the edge grain in both spots. You can also add dowels or fasteners to the outside of this joint, pin the rabbets, and that will drastically increase your strength. Ruh-roh. Could somebody bump me to the next slide, please? All right. Now we're into dado joints. Now we're going to cut a dado across the board, and the other board is going to sit inside it. This is going to be good for shelving, dividers in your cabinets. The tighter you can get that fit, the better the joint strength is going to be. A loose dado is adequate. A good fitting dado, you should be able to use the board that you stuck into the dado to pick up the board, the other board. Good friction fit will be a very nice dado there. You can again add fasteners or dowels or stuff to the outside to increase the strength or add some decoration, however you want to do it. But dado joints are very strong, very useful for shelving. You can make them all the way through. You can make stop dados where you can't see the front of the dado, so you can make your shelves a little elegant. Or you can make that all the way through and then edge band the front of it, and then nobody will know. All right, spline miter joint. That's what this one is here. This is the spline miter. Making Hal work today. So what we've done is we've taken our miter joint and we've cut slots into it here, and then we've taken other pieces of wood and put them into these slots, taken triangles and put them into the slots. And there was a YouTuber, I don't remember who, actually did some tests on joinery and said that spline miter joints was the strongest. The key to a spline miter joint is we've got these triangles of wood. We want to make the grain direction is the strong part of the wood. So we want to make sure our splines, grain direction crosses that and rounds the corner for us. So your spline wood orientation should be across your 90 there. So it's very easy to cut rectangles where your grain is going to be like this. You want to cut rectangles where your grain is across. So this is a spline miter. Shameless plug here. This is from the joinery class that we had in June. I know we're going to do at least one of them next year. We may do two. So this is one of the joints we'll make. Spline miter, again, great for boxes. You can do this on picture frames. They're just thinner. Back to slides, please. You can also do splines. That bottom picture, you can do the splines in the interior of the miter. That makes a really cool thing for if you're going to saw off the lid of a box. You get like a little surprise joinery there. Most people won't notice, but the ones who do, you'll be like, thank you. Thank you for admiring my handiwork. All right, dowels. Dowels are great because dowels are just small floating tenons. So we're using this to strengthen joints. You can use dowels with darn near any type of joint to add strength. You can use it to make your edge joint tabletops. I heard a story of a guy who would take those boards he was making his tabletop from. He'd make metal dowels the same width as the boards, and each dowel would go through halfway, and that is completely mechanically restraining that wood movement. That table is gonna stay flat forever because there's just metal rods all the way through it. You don't need to go to that extremes unless you want to. Dowels, you can, again, tabletops, large surfaces. You could use dowels to attach the frame to the table. Again, we're in that engineered wood, stable substrate for the top of the table. You can just dowel in the top because the engineered wood isn't going to go anywhere, and so your frame will kind of stay with it. Layout is important in doweling. You got to make sure your dowels are going to line up, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. So they make little dowel center pins where you can drill the holes in one board, put the pins in, and they'll just create an impression so you know where to drill the other holes. Otherwise, you can use like a dowel max. I have the Jessam doweling jig. There's lots of options for making dowels. Layout, again, is kind of important there to make sure your holes line up. Yeah, we're going to extend dowels. Now we're getting into floating tenons. This is the domino from Festool for those of you who have plenty of money. You can make floating tenons without a domino. Domino just does it really nicely and really quickly. Again, this is strengthening a joint. You can use them for tabletops and large surfaces. You can use them really anywhere dowels work. This example from Woodcraft is just like a door frame. So what you need to do is, I don't know why this sliding fasteners is here. Anyway, so the gluing surface there, again, we talked about the edge. The sides of that floating tenon are going to be the surfaces you need to keep clean. Nobody really cares about the top surfaces and bottom of that floating tenon and mortise. Next. All right, now we're into the good stuff. Mortise and tenon. Mortise and tenon is an exceedingly versatile joint. You use it for tables, chairs, any furniture, anything that's going to expect a lot of wear and tear. This is about as strong as joinery gets. When you're cutting mortise and tenons, one of the things to remember, I mentioned the edge, the side, the edge grain is where your glue is going to be, so you don't care that much about the end grain on the tops and bottoms. But aside from those sides being clean, everything else can look sloppy because it's all hidden. You really need to make sure your shoulders are crisp lines because that's going to be the part that gets seen. You can add all kinds of embellishments to mortise and tenons. I've got some examples here. So this one, sorry, Hal. So this one here was a through mortise, and we just kind of ran it through the table saw, the tenon, and stuck some wedges in there, and then sanded it flat, or planed it flat, and you get some nice decoration, and this will never come apart. Here's one where we've now taken the tenon and mortise, put them together, drilled a hole, added some square pegs. Also, never going to come apart. This is a through tenon that goes all the way through, and then a little wooden key holds it in place. Very good for trestle tables, any sort of campaign furniture, because you can just pull this key out and then knock out your wood and collapse it. So. Plus, I think it looks really neat. Okay, we'll go back to the slides, please. All right, yeah, mortise and tenon variations. This is a picture of one through mortise with a key. Pin mortise we talked about. Bridle joint is just an open mortise where the mortise is open at the top and the tenon just sort of sticks in. Lots of joints have various options, but it kind of just comes down to it's a mortise and tenon. Next. Oh, maybe it started working. Yeah, all right. So ways to cut mortise and tenons. You can do both by hand. That's fine. Cutting a mortise with a mortising machine. In the joinery class that I teach, we cut the mortise with a router. You just make a slot with a router. It's pretty easy. Tenons, you can cut them by hand. You can cut tenons on a router if you've got some sort of template or way to make sure the router goes where you want. Or you can cut them with a table saw. we cut them with a table saw, and then we make the square peg and go into the rounded hole. So there's lots of ways to do it. Hand cut mortises can be a pain if you don't have the right tools. My preferred method is to lay it out, drill with the holes with the drill press, and then chip out and cut the waste. So, little machine-assisted hand cut joinery there. All right, dovetails. Dovetails are very decorative, very strong, not entirely necessary depending upon who you're talking to. But we don't really work with wood because it's necessary. So everybody loves dovetails. So dovetails, again, boxes, drawers, chests. The key to dovetails is orientation matters. So you want your tension to be where your tails are. Your tail board should be on the side of your drawers because you're pulling the drawer fronts out. So orient your wood appropriately, orient your joinery appropriately. Dovetails, again, have oodles of variation. Yeah, okay, so laying out and cutting dovetails, you don't need a particular angle. Everybody sells dovetail gauges, and they're like, oh, this is a 1:7 dovetail, and this is a 1:5 dovetail, and this is a 1:8, and you use one for hardwoods and one for softwoods, and it's not gonna matter. You're gonna make a decent dovetail, and it's gonna be strong enough for whatever you're doing. If you want it to last like millennia, maybe you need to think about that. I just eyeball it with a bevel gauge, and that's the angle we all get. The strongest dovetail joint is equal parts pin and tail. That joint doesn't look very finessey. It doesn't look very elegant and light, so not a lot of people will do that, but that is the way you get the strongest dovetail. So if you're in it for strength, that's how you do it. Layout is key. Mark your pieces. All these pieces came from when I took a joinery class at Mark Adams, and so if you come up here and look at these, they've got pencil all over them. That's front, inside, up, side, inside, up, front, not inside. Laying out your joinery before you cut anything is the key to making good joinery. Because if you mess it up, then you gotta start over. So again, cutting dovetails, you can do it by hand. You can do it with a router, with a jig, table saw. I think Dan Lender had a table saw blade he had Quinn make him that was cut at like an 8-degree angle. He just runs that through. Now your tails are cut. People do them with a bandsaw. Lots of options. Pick your poison. Again, you can make them as decorative as you'd like. Are you getting anything extra with those extra little tails and pins? No. Does it look cool? Hell yeah, it does. All right. Next slide, please. Sorry, this is not working. Oh, okay, well, I guess if we can have the camera back, I'll show you some variations on dovetails. So here's your basic dovetail, like half pin, half tail. It works. It's good. Is it awesome? It could be better. But, you know, dovetails. Then you can get dovetails where you're doing half-lap dovetails. Again, is it necessary? Probably not, but it looks cool. Someone once told me that there was sliding dovetails were called French dovetails and the others were called English dovetails. I'm not sure I believe that, but you can also cut sliding dovetails, which are really good for a variety of things. Again, dividers and cabinets, or there's like some tables that have legs where people use sliding dovetails, but you're cutting a dovetail, then you're cutting a hole for the dove, you know. You got your tail board and your pin board, and your pin board is a whole board. Yeah, that's all I got there. Okay. All right, the next slide is Japanese joinery, just a little bit of history there. So the stories that I've heard, my understanding is feudal Japan, they would often, clans would raid and they'd burn stuff down, and, wood would get destroyed and forests. And then the first thing they do when war was over, they found some peace, is they'd rebuild the temples. And so they'd take whatever wood they could find, and they'd use all this creative joinery methods to make the wood big enough and connected enough that they could rebuild their temples. So in this Mark Adams class that I took, the last day, you just get a page out of a Japanese joinery book, and he's like, all right, now make this. And so, you've learned layout is kind of, if you can lay it out, if you can figure out what you're cutting and what order to cut the steps in, it's not difficult. So, these are different variations on Japanese joinery. It looks really neat. It is really neat, but it's not hard if you kind of take the time to lay it out. This is the one that I had. It's a miter dovetail. It was getting there. Miter dovetail on, oh, we were there. Yeah, so it was honestly not terribly hard. You just had to think about in what order you're going to cut this so that you're not like cutting a dovetail and then you're like, oh, and now I put the miter and you just lop it right off. So again, creative joinery, and if you do it right, nobody's ever going to see it. So all right, other joints, finger joints, box joints, either those are really bad angle dovetails or some variation of lap joint, however you want to talk about that. You've got a hip joint, which I've got an example of up here. I won't make you change the camera. Hip joints are a combination of dados, dados and rabbets, but they are like a very, very strong joint used for a lot of times the seats on chairs, but they're kind of overkill. That's that bottom picture there, a hip joint. Drawer lock, you get a special router bit and you set it up, and then you struggle to set it up right, and then you struggle some more, and then you never touch that router again. You can make drawer lock miters. So there's a couple picture of those there. All right.
Even with that, even if you start with 45-degree angle cut and try to get that thing to work, it's fun.
Yeah.
So when if you got the right thickness, and so what I do, you got the right thickness of that wood.
Yeah.
Go ahead after you made it and it actually fits. Take a piece of that wood and make a go by.
Yeah. Yep. Setup blocks for the next time.
Yeah.
All right. Next slide, please. Okay. In summary, wood's gonna wood. It's gonna move. You got to allow for it. Joints have different strengths and purposes. Pick the right joinery for your project, or pick the joinery you want to play with and do that. Layout is really the key to getting good joinery. You plan ahead, make your cuts, and they should work relatively well. Good enough. All right, one more slide, please. So this is my little Adam's opinion of what joinery should be used for when. How much time do you have, or how long do you want it to last, and what are you making? So for a tabletop, you got edge joining, you just glue it together. You could put it together with biscuits, you could put it together with dowels. You're gonna get a little bit different durability and flatness over time there. Table frame, you can make a table with pocket screws. You need a table, make a table. You wanna make it last a little longer, dowels, floating tenons, mortise and tenon. Generations, I just make a mortise and tenon. Box, again, you could miter it and it would stay. You put splines in that miter, you make box joints, it's gonna last a long, long time. Spline miter, box joint, dovetails forever. Drawers, rabbet, good enough. Pin your rabbet, or add some box joints, drawer lock, miter, or drawer lock, it's gonna last forever. Dovetails. And then bookshelves and cabinets, again, you can use pocket screws, it'll work. You make sloppy dados, it'll work better. You make better dados, it's going to last forever. So, any questions? Nope. Say we had one question. Is that a question back there? Yeah.
On the, is it on? On the miter joints that you had the splines in, you showed two different kinds. The one that goes across the miter.
Yeah.
And the one that goes. You made
Yeah,
a point
through
of
this way?
made a point of the grain direction.
Yeah.
The other one, the point of the grain direction needs to be the other way. It needs to not be parallel with the joint. It needs to be across.
Yeah.
That same reason.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's a little harder to make. It's
a lot
depending
harder
on
to
how
make.
depending on how long your
Yeah.
joint is. But
Yep. Yeah, you still want the grain direction to carry the strength.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very easy to make that. He's talking about, you make a long spline. It's very easy to cut a thin piece of wood where your grain direction is going this way, and that's not going to buy you much. It might look nice, but it's not going to buy you strength. You really need your grain direction to.
But the
wrap
good
around.
news is the middle part of it is hidden, so
Yep.
you could cut it the long way and cut a whole bunch of little short pieces.
Yep. Yep.
Mortise and tenon. How deep should one go? How do you decide how deep to make it?
I would make, it's really a function of the application, right? Again, you can make a through mortise. It's decorative, it looks nice. You're not going to do any harm. You're filling up that empty space with wood. The only reason I would ever be super concerned about how deep I'm making that is if I'm making a table frame and I'm getting two mortise and tenon joints to join, I don't want those tenons to be bottoming out against each other. So I will usually miter the tenons so they have room, and then make them so that they're just not going to touch. But if you're replacing wood with wood, so I don't think it matters. I wouldn't make a super short tenon. I'd probably go at least half the depth of the mortise piece. So 3/4 is probably a good rule of thumb, somewhere between half and 3/4.
Let me say something real quick. If you got bids on the silent auction, go ahead and make some more, because we're going to close it off in about 5 minutes.
All right. Other questions? Okay, thanks. Yeah.
I did too.
I really like it.
I do too. I find I've gotten better at making sure everything's centered and using a whole bunch of shivs and whatever